I could have pushed record if it was that easy.
It is that easy.
Oh, did you hit the button and not say anything again?
Nope.
That's a lie.
Did you already hit record?
I just hit record.
There. Now we're recording.
Perfect. Well, hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's good.
Are you working on your being louder?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Is that better?
That was great.
Broke everybody's speaker. Sorry.
How was the week?
It was good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, I know how your week was, but why don't you tell everybody else how your week was?
Trying to remember everything that happened.
It's true.
It was last week, the week we got the new contract for work. Was that last week?
Yeah,
So we got a new contract for work.
we did.
That was good.
Yeah,
It's our biggest contract yet.
it was. It's very exciting.
Yeah. It's a 5-story stores building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right by our office, which is kind of cool.
Right off one of the major highways. So it's a big move for us.
I feel like even if they didn't want to give us the contract,
I was going to take it anyway.
100%, I think you probably wore out the digits
I would have just project managed it for whoever got it.
to that guy.
Put up our signs anyways.
Yeah, which is also kind of funny because his last name is Holmes too, but spelled different.
With a U instead of an O.
I know.
Holmes.
Interesting.
Yeah, Holmes.
But he seems like a really nice guy. I mean, he did deal with your impatient.
Yeah. He was the one that
Tactics.
was attacking like a little schoolgirl.
Yeah.
So, But the Lord told me to sit back and wait, and
And you did.
thus I did.
And then he showed up.
And it worked out.
Usually that's...
Although he told me he's going to get me a contract every week for about a month and a half. So that was, it's like he was teasing me.
Ryan was or God was?
Both.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Both.
I get that.
So
I get that. How was the weekend?
weekend was good. I never remember what we do on the weekends.
Well, this weekend we didn't really do a whole lot, which was actually really nice.
We didn't do a whole lot.
We did go to Olive School.
Oh, we did do the slime run.
Yep, for the slime run.
Which was just a bunch of mashed up Orbeez.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I know. She did actually say that when we left there. She was like, I feel like they should just say it's smashed up Orbeez instead of slime.
Smashed Orbeez run?
Yeah,
Doesn't sound as good.
that's what she would like for it to be called.
Yeah.
I know. And probably like a big thing over the weekend was figuring out that she definitely struggles with some type of anxiety or like being
sure.
overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You and I had gotten like a call that she was in the clinic because her stomach was bothering her, and it was like time number 8. And the sweet nurse sent home like all the printouts of all the visits that she's had since February 1st. And
Right.
I don't think Olive quite knew what the stomach aches were coming from. But when we showed up to the fun run, she just wasn't herself.
No.
She was very quiet and she was very like standoffish, and she didn't want to go do the run. She just kind of wanted to do her own thing.
Didn't hang out with her friends. And
Yeah. And so I finally had like asked her like, sis, are you overwhelmed right now? And she was like, what does that mean?
Right.
And I was like, there's just like a lot going on. And she was like, yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. I said, are you overwhelmed at school when you're getting these stomach aches? She was like, I am. And I was like, okay, well, we can work through that. We can figure that out.
Right. It wasn't a food thing. It turned out to be an anxiety issue, really.
Yeah. And the biggest thing
Or an
was
anxious issue, not necessarily anxiety, but
right.
anxious.
When I had said to her, like, maybe we'll get you like a bracelet, and then anytime you want to, you miss us or you think about us, like we're always there. She was like, but I can't talk to you. And I was like, of course. But
That's
today
the hard
was,
thing, is getting her to learn to talk to us. And
yeah,
easier you than me, of course. But
I think she also just, I think a big part of it too is, right, Archer's home now. Like he spends spends all of his time with us. So there's probably a little bit of
in the last
that.
2 months, realistically.
Yeah, I think that's probably a huge one for her. But I also just think like she's always just loved to be with us. She's also an only child for 5 years. So
Yeah, she does definitely favor being around us than school, but who wouldn't?
right.
If your
Want to be with
kid
your
just
parents.
loves to be at school all the time.
Some self-reflection would
Sorry.
probably need to occur.
I had a lot of weird things that went through my mind when I said that, and they're just not appropriate.
That's fair. Very fair. No, so I'm glad we figured that one out though, because I was definitely over the phone calls of the
Yeah.
stomach aches.
Hopefully
And
that's exactly what it was, because that's an easy fix, luckily.
yeah, and today I sent her with a bracelet that, anytime she was worried or just needed some extra love, she could look at it and remember that I gave it to her and that we
She said
loved
she
her.
looked at it and kissed it,
Yes,
and she felt better. So
100%.
whatever.
Whatever makes her happy and works, I'm here for it. It's the little things.
Right.
So, and then Archer, of course, is just Archer. Wild.
Nuts.
Yeah, he's wild and
Likes
free.
to yell a lot now.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Loves
I should
to-
probably ask your mom if you were like a yeller when you were little.
I don't think so. I'm not a yeller now.
Maybe that's why, though.
Maybe. Although I yell at him a lot.
Well, he's easy to yell at.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes. So he's just starting to yell back.
he is. He's kind of a punk these
So.
days. Well, I feel like on tonight's episode, we should kind of start to unpack some of our baggage.
It's always fun.
Yeah, and it's also kind of wild. You and I both suffer from anxiety and depression. I suffer from anxiety and you suffer from depression, more than one or the other.
Sure.
But today when I was like looking at the like statistics behind it, I was kind of surprised. And then
Yeah.
I was also kind of happy that it wasn't as many people as I thought. So when I was doing the research, 21 million adults in the US have depression.
Yeah, I would think it's more,
Right.
right? Maybe 21 million adults are recorded at a psychiatrist or
Maybe.
counselor's office,
Right.
and on medication. Because I would statistically, based on just who we know in a friend group or family, that from a percentage value, there's way more than that
Right.
in just our core group of people. That it's who depression or anxiety kind of go hand in hand for the most part. And I know a lot of people who have anxiety or
Right.
who have depression.
Yeah.
And to think, what was this stat? 20?
So it's 21 million adults, which
Right.
equates to
Like
8.3%.
Right.
So, and that's meaning like they've had like one depressive episode. So that's not like
Right.
counting people who are depressed for 2+ years.
Right.
But 49% of those people are untreated. So
Yeah,
that's
that's even
no
crazier,
therapy,
right.
no
It's almost-
medication.
Yeah, it's almost 10 million
Yeah,
of those people
which is wild.
are untreated. See, and I would imagine that there's a bunch of people out there, because I had, looking back, I was depressed, probably all of my teenage years and into my 20s. I mean, I've been depressed since my teenage years, I'll put it that way.
Right.
And, never, contributed to be depression. I was just a teenager, just an,
Like a sad, angsty
an
kid.
a-hole, and I ran
Right.
around and I drank a lot, and I probably dealt with it that way, right? And
Yeah.
there's no difference between abusing Xanax and abusing a beer.
Right.
There's literally no difference. They both make you feel great when you're doing it.
Right.
And then I got to a point where you just start to identify that I really do feel bad. And I think having Olive kind of kicked it off for me. Being a new parent, they always say, the mom gets baby blues, but I definitely got some type of baby blues where that,
Yeah.
Immediate shift in life just opened Pandora's box for me. And I just, started to cave in on myself finally, where I was like, this is how I felt for a long time.
Yeah.
And it just, it just starts to torment you. You have crazy thoughts, and, some thoughts are embarrassing or even scary to talk to people about, because you feel like everyone's going to judge you, or, and the safest place to really go talk to somebody is to a psychiatrist or a therapist, who they don't judge.
You're right.
For me, I'm always afraid that, I'm going to get put on some list or something.
Yeah.
This guy's depressed. He's crazy. He's
Yeah.
got these thoughts or whatever it is. But, that's not the reality of things. And maybe it is. It just hasn't caught up with me yet. But,
Yeah. I remember when we first started dating too, you had said, like I've definitely battled depression before, and I was like, that's cute. Like I've never been sad like that in my life, or never been anxious like that in my life. And what a gift, young, naive, 6-year-old Crystal
Right.
was. Cause like then having Olive kicked off me having anxiety. And I was just like, what?
Right.
What is
Right. It's really easy
this?
to be like, I don't have anxiety or I'm not
Yeah.
depressed when you're young and single because you can do and be whatever you want at any
Right.
given moment. And if you feel like crap, then you have the freedom to go do something that makes you not feel like crap.
Right.
But when you become a parent and you become an adult and you become a husband and you have a full-time job and now you've got, bills and mortgage and cars and kids and insurances and life's hard,
Yeah.
So
No, it is.
you go from being 25 to not giving a crap to, being 32 and having a kid and a wife and life. And it's just like, wow, sometimes it caves in on you. And, you know, for me, it was always drinking. I've always drank.
It's such a social thing to do.
It's not
It's
even
a social,
it's not even
acceptable
social.
thing to do.
It runs in my family. It's not even social. Addiction runs in my family. So I've always been, I have a healthy fear of, becoming an addict of something, and I have a healthy fear of, even suicide. It's a weird thing to say that I have a healthy fear of suicide, but I have a healthy fear of not going down those roads.
Yeah.
Only because of, at my lowest, drinking alcohol at my lowest, I was, probably 25 years old, and I would drink, bottles of vodka every weekend and throughout the week, and it was bad, and I would literally drink, bottom shelf pop off gallon of vodka throughout the weekend.
Where's
and
that
just
Nick at? Because
party.
now you're really expensive.
He was on Prozac and Xanax and
This guy's super
mushrooms
expensive.
and all sorts of things. Now he's really expensive.
Yeah.
He doesn't get the little bottom shelf stuff no more.
He doesn't.
But those were always my, ways of dealing with things.
Yeah, those were your coping mechanisms.
That's what I'm looking for, my coping mechanisms. So, even when we had Olive, I was still, drinking, and it was very casual, but I'd still come home from work and have a glass of whiskey. And,
Right.
I got really into whiskey, from a kind of almost like a hobby standpoint. That was more along the lines of with friends.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's kind of weird to have a whiskey hobby without saying that
Yeah.
I'm drinking whiskey every day, and it's not just because it's a new bottle and I want to look at it. It's because it tastes great and, it gives me a buzz, and I don't have to worry about how, bad the day might have been or how bad I thought it was going to be, or, now I get to deal with a crying baby when I come home or whatever it is. But even going, to a psychiatrist and getting put on a medication, because I've been through 4 medications now, I think, in the last 7 years. And, eventually they just stop working, at least for me.
Yeah.
And, but that becomes a coping mechanism too,
Yeah.
The first couple medications I was on, if I forgot to, refill them, I would go into full panic. Like if I'm going to run out of this, I would count my antidepressant pills and be like, if I'm going to run out in 7 days.
Right.
I have to get this refilled. Right. And that's the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like
for sure.
That was what made me feel better.
Yeah.
So now I was panicking that I wasn't going to have that. And, a couple of the antidepressants I were on were very addictive, I think. They kind of fell into the opioid category.
Yeah.
And I've always enjoyed having, don't tell anybody, but I've always enjoyed having, Xanax in the, in the medicine cabinet, only because, I've dealt with a lot of anxiety as well. That's, it's crippling at some points. And,
yeah, but it's always been in the medicine cabinet, which means it's always a crutch.
I rarely take it,
but it's there.
But it's always been there to have it, you
Yeah.
know, and, I think I get that from my mom. She'll probably never want to admit it either, but she's always had them.
Although after she listens to this episode, she'll
and
be
then
like,
I was always like, hey, can I get one of those? But it sounds really bad.
Right. No, but
but
I
it's
get
not what it was. But
I get what
I
you're
had
saying.
anxiety, and so she had it, and she helped me with it. But that led to me, eventually getting help. And then, Good Friday when I saw Miss Mary, that was a real eye opener. And
well, I want to pause you there for a second because I want to kind of go back to us getting into the church a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And what that kind of how that played a role into, I mean, essentially you getting to Miss Mary, right? But
Right.
how that played a role in just your thoughts on depression and anxiety, because so many people out there will say things like, just pray about it. And you're like, oh, I'm praying. Like,
Yeah, you can, I
I'm
mean,
wearing out a path.
right,
I am praying
right.
about it.
But you can't be lazy and pray.
Right.
Those those don't go hand in hand.
Right.
Like you can't be, um, you can't own a business and be lazy because you're just going to find yourself with a bunch of debt and no way to pay for it.
Yeah.
Like you can't pray and be lazy.
Right.
So if you pray, God's going to say, well, get off your ass and help.
Right.
I'm going to help you,
Mm-hmm.
but you're going to show me that, that you're really giving it to me, that you're deserving of it. Not that God doesn't, give things to people who aren't deserving. I don't know how that works necessarily. I won't even get into that,
Right.
but you can't be lazy and pray
Yeah.
and expect, you can, but you can't expect results.
Right.
You know,
I think that's another thing that people don't fully understand, right? Is like you have to speak into your prayers with intention.
for sure.
And like you said, you have to do something about them. And so while yes, it's good to acknowledge, I'm battling depression or I'm battling anxiety and
Right.
I want to give this over to God, but you have to like actually give it over to God. You
Yeah.
have to do that
No,
work.
yeah, and that's really hard, and that's a daily thing. I mean, that's every day. Every
Right.
day I have to give it back to God
Same.
because every day I take it back.
Right. Same.
It's not impossible, but it's really hard to, the only person that walked this earth that was perfect was Jesus.
Right.
And none of us were ever meant to be perfect, especially after Adam and Eve, it was over from there. But
Women.
women,
I was waiting.
drag
I was
us,
waiting for
drag,
you to say it and you just never did.
drag us down. I was trying to be polite, but women drag us down. Here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are trying to get back.
We'll probably spend
But
our lifetime.
I lost my train of thought.
You're welcome.
Pick me up.
No, so sin. I mean, we're all products of, right, like you said, Adam and Eve. So we're all imperfect people and needing to figure out what that looks like
Yeah.
in this world, especially with everything that's going on right now. It can be hard. It can be really crazy. So it can be difficult to actually give those things over to God.
For
Like,
sure.
oh, I'm really sad, but and it's like, no, 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 there can't be a but.
Right.
Like, I'm really sad. I want to be done being sad. I'm really
Right.
anxious. I want to be done being anxious.
Right.
I'm going to do the work to be done with those things.
Right.
We keep throwing these buts in, and they're not going to get us anywhere.
Sorry. I'm hearing this like
I think it's our bed.
sleep number.
Yeah.
It's pumping up. Mm-hmm. Great.
Pretty sure it's our bed. So
No,
now,
yeah, you're right. And it is hard to, it's a huge, you have to put all your faith, and with your faith is trust. And you have to put all your trust and all your faith into God. And, for someone a couple years back like me who was just really getting into it,
yeah.
I've always been pictures or didn't have a kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've always known God was there because I've always known the devil was there. I've always known there was a heaven and a hell.
Mm-hmm.
But I never made the decision to give myself over. And I have and I haven't, right? I've talked to you about wanting to be baptized, as an adult where I can actually give myself physically over to him. And I think that for me will be the real, crossing of that river, right? Where I'm still going to stumble every single day and I'm still going to learn to trust God to take over,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to keep your foot on the gas and let go of the steering wheel because that's, your foot on the gas is you not being lazy,
Right.
but your hands off the steering wheel is you putting all the trust and faith in God.
Yeah.
So
It's like
that
those
combination's
Tesla
really
self-driving cars.
right. And they crash all the time.
Yeah.
So that, that's a hard thing to do. And I learn to do it every day. And again, I, pray every morning and try to give it back every single day over and over and over.
What do you think changed for you when you saw Mary for the first time?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. We sat there and we prayed. You know, she put her hands on me, and
Excuse me?
yeah, older women got the touch.
Hey, I'll take it.
So you're not there yet.
Oh, thank God.
But, you know, she, you know, rubbed oil across my forehead, and we just got really deep. She went really deep with me, and I had never gone there spiritually, you know, especially with a pastor or even at, you know, from a church level. And yeah, it was insane. It was just eye opening. You know, she made my head, you know, the voice inside my head, she made it just go to areas it had never gone before. You know, I felt the presence of God when I was sitting in there talking to her.
Right.
And she, you know, she got me to really divulge a lot of things that were really bothering me either recently or in the past. And we're still going through it. I've only gone to her twice now.
Right.
You know, but I feel like every time I go to her, or every time I've ever gone to a therapist or a counselor, I always feel refreshed when I leave, and I don't got to go back for like 4 weeks or something.
Right.
Until, you know, I start to lose gas.
I've always said that about like therapy in general. I'm a huge proponent of it and take whatever path works for you. But like the love of like dumping all of your troubles onto
Yeah, it
somebody
feels great.
else and
Yeah,
just
it's like,
letting them help you sort them. Like you don't have to do it by yourself.
right.
It's just, it's amazing. It's
Yeah,
amazing
it's
to
like
like walk into an office and be like, help me figure this out.
Yeah, it's like refueling your tank.
Yeah.
You know, and then mine starts to, you know, go on E, then I'm like, okay, I got to talk to her again.
Well, yeah, because we pour into so many different cups. I'm like,
Right, and I feel like I'm run out of things to talk to her about, which, you know, I almost felt like that last time because we did so much conversation, so much soul searching when I was there the first time that I thought, I don't know what I'm going to go talk to her again about.
there's always something.
For sure. And the reality was it was a lot of repeat,
Yeah.
you know, and, but she's teaching me, you know, how to deal with myself and to teach myself, you know, we touched on affirmations on the intro, you know, last week. And, you know, that's been a huge proponent of this,
Right.
you know, talking to myself, you know, whether it's in the mirror in the morning, in the bathroom, or on the way to, you know, my roofing mirror on the way to work. It's been a huge help, you know, tell myself, you know, how good I am, that I am good enough, that today's going to be great, that, you know, with God, I'm going to make today, you know, amazing. And today's going to be full of good things, and it's going to be full of good news. And, you know, my family's going to be, you know, healthy and loved and successful. And we're growing our, you know, Christianity in our family. And, you know, just, you know, for lack of a better phrase, it's talking yourself up every day.
Yeah.
You know, not to, you know, not just BSing yourself, but really telling yourself things that are possible,
Yeah.
that are real, you know, things that you can actually do and things that you can actually truly expect from God, you know, not, you know, hey, today I know you're going to give me $1 million. It's not
No, it's things that you can actually
realistic, but
control.
today is going to be successful.
Right. But it's
You
also
know,
things that you can control.
right. Today I'm going to work hard.
Right.
You know, because there are days when I don't work hard.
Right.
And that's just a product of, you know, the same day over and over and over. And it's talking myself back up again and say, hey, today I'm going to do this.
You have always struggled with
Today,
the thought
this
of
is
Groundhog's
my
Day
goal, right?
being that
So,
thing.
yeah. So setting goals in the morning, you know, looking at myself and setting goals and then sticking to them.
Right.
And then, you know, some of the other stuff we talked about was, you know, just relationships with family and, you know, certain things that drive my anxiety. You know, I won't really want to get into any of that right now, but, you know, there are some pretty heavy things in my life that I'm realizing, you know, do drive a lot of my anxiety.
Yeah.
You know, and one thing, you know, I even text, you know, in a group chat this weekend, because Sunday's, you know, message at church was it drove pretty hard into me. Was it King Uzziah? You know, and it had the message was giving it to God and chasing your purpose. You know, why did God put me here? Why am I doing what I'm doing right now? And are you doing it because you're now comfortable because God put you there and now you don't need him anymore?
Right.
And now you're just chasing money?
Right.
Or are you
Fame?
Or are you here?
Whatever that is.
Are you here because you're supposed to be here?
Right.
And it is your purpose to be here. And if God and my purpose are the forefront of what I'm doing, then nothing can fail it. if I'm just sitting back going, okay, thanks God, now I can take it from here.
Yeah.
Now I know what I'm doing. I can go get that job and it's going to be great. And I'll call on you when I need you.
No, it
And
doesn't work
for
like
now
that.
on, I'm just going after the money.
Yeah.
It was a 180 for me this weekend. And, I even said in the group chat, that I'm no longer chasing money.
Yeah.
We've made it from wherever we've been 10 years ago to now. And we've had some help, and I'm very grateful for the help we've
Absolutely.
had. And, and I love everybody who's helped us up until now. And I hope we get to the point where we can help, many other people just the
Absolutely.
same. But my goal is to focus on what my purpose is, and if that is, to have a construction company that does very well and then goes away
Yeah.
because other things happened, and, the success of that catapulted life to a different place.
Right.
And, other things, I don't know where I'm going with it, but other things turn into opportunities to help other people.
Yeah.
Because I'm really starting to feel like my purpose is truly to help other people, in a grand scale kind of way, which I feel like there needs to be a lot of money involved for the things that I have
For
to
sure.
do.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's my purpose, right?
Right.
So I feel like the amount of work that I am about to put into a lot of things all at once is going to pay back tenfold, right? Because I came up with this thing in my head the other day that, God is the original 10x, because the whole world is going after this 10x thing. I'm going to 10x this, I'm going to 10x that.
Oh gosh.
And God is the original 10x.
Yeah.
You put your effort into God and he comes back 10 times, tenfold. He will 10x your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's, and obviously you're there, we're doing it together.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's my purpose now, is to put it all into God, do what I'm doing, and do it harder, work harder. And, it's going to be a different approach, working harder and not looking at a dollar sign.
Yeah.
That's for every day when I wake up, that's going to be another area I got to continue to put my faith and say, sorry, I may have failed yesterday, but here I am again, just putting it in front of you. So
I think that it's such a worldly thing, right? To chase money.
yeah.
Such an easy thing to chase, right? To chase a job promotion, to chase a bigger house, to chase a nicer car, to chase, sitting in first class, not sitting in coach. Like it's just become the way of the world. You chase more. There's nothing wrong with chasing more because more gets you great things.
Right. It's all fun. It's all wonderful, fun stuff.
Right.
Right. And there's nothing bad about it.
But if you're not chasing the love of God, like
Right.
first, and then chasing the other things, then you're empty.
Right.
You're still empty. So you're sitting in first class, but your spirit is zero.
Right.
Like,
right.
oh, cool.
Right.
You're flying somewhere on your private jet, but
Right. And
when it goes down, where are
right.
you going? There's so
Right.
there's so many opportunities out there that I think people forget. And I think the biggest, just to like kind of hit on church this weekend, the biggest part for me was that man, King Uzziah, he died alone.
Right. And he
He had given his entire life to God, and God gave it all to him and glorified him for years upon years upon years. And then the second that he was like,
he got comfortable.
sit back,
And he got content.
I got this.
And said, I don't
God
need
was like,
you anymore. I'm
okay,
good.
let me
And
show
then,
you.
And then he became a giant a-hole.
Yeah.
And when you start to...
Well, then he got leprosy, and then he died
When
alone.
you start
so.
to go after priests, and you start to tell priests, no.
Right.
This is what I am, king. It's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Because this is my world now.
Mm-hmm.
And God has the power to give you everything, and he has the power to strip you of everything in a moment.
Absolutely.
And in the Bible, after yelling at the priests that he was going to do it his way, he got leprosy then and there, live in front of all those priests.
Right.
And that's terrifying. And I don't
When I
ever want to live like that,
when
ever.
I think back to like some things of like the Old Testament that I've like read and gone through, I'm like,
Savage.
very much so.
God is a savage.
God.
He's a savage God.
I know.
And Jesus came down here and softened him up a little bit, but
For sure.
he's still savage.
He's like, listen up.
He's still savage.
My dad's this guy, but
look at billionaires.
yeah.
Billionaires who are never openly, about Christ or God, and whether it's Catholic or Christian or whatever it is. Look at Steve Jobs, right? You know, one of the richest men in the world got cancer and died.
Yeah.
And not many people remember him anymore.
I know. It's kind of
Like,
funny you
I
say
remember his product. We have his products every day. We're on them right now. But what was his legacy?
that.
What did he leave, right?
Yeah.
Like, he didn't have a good relationship with his kids.
Right.
He didn't have a good relationship with, I think he had 2 wives. You know, he had 1 wife and then he had an ex-wife.
Okay.
And he died in the middle of building like one of the biggest yachts ever made. Never got to enjoy it. You know, so you look at a guy who chased money and died with
Nothing.
shit.
Right. I mean, literally.
Died with nothing.
No, it's true.
He didn't even get to see the giant ring
Yeah.
headquarters they built. Right?
Still
Like,
blows my mind.
yeah. So all these things happened without him.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and you have to believe that it was one of those things that was like, you know, hey, I tried. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah.
But you got to go now. And all these things are going to happen without you.
Yeah. I mean, the world is definitely going to go
Right?
on,
And that's
right?
just one example.
Of course.
But I don't want to be like that.
Right.
You know, I don't want to be like that.
Yeah. Legacy is definitely something that we can get into deeper and further
For
down
sure.
the road. But I look at like my grandparents, for example. Like, I'll just go with my dad's dad, Austin. Like, was just the coolest man and a God-fearing man.
Yeah.
Like, and was he a mess? Absolutely.
Right.
But I want you to send me a Christian that's not a mess. Like,
For sure.
then we can go from there. But a God-fearing man and a loving man, and like my best friend until the end. And so, and then I look at, you know, my dad's dad, Peepo, and like
Yeah.
the legacy that he left behind and the love of him and
Yeah.
his family. And I remember going over there when we were little, and, you know, my grandma only would speak Spanish, and he would just be like, oh, you know, like whatever she says, like, okay, just
Right.
keep it going. But like, you just always had like you walked into their house and you just felt their love.
Yeah.
And like that,
It was a house of God.
100%.
Yeah.
And, you know, I watched a video the other day that said your children's children are not going to talk about the things that you bought them. They're
Right.
not going to talk about the vacations you took them on. They're not going to talk about any of those things. What they're going to talk about is how you made them feel.
Yeah, it's you.
Right. And
Right.
so when I looked back,
you
after I
as a
watched that video,
person.
I looked
Right.
back at my grandparents and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, you talk about them as
Yeah.
who they were as a person, right?
Right. You know, my grandma was one of the toughest women
Right.
on the planet, and she just took no shit.
Right.
But she was miserable. And
Yeah.
like she was very sad and she was lonely, and it was heartbreaking to watch, you know, somebody with such great potential
Yeah.
to like die that way. And yeah, she was surrounded by her family, but it was a heartbreaking thing. But you think about like legacy in those regards, and it's like how those people made you feel is everything.
Right. 100%.
It has nothing to do with how much money they got,
Yeah.
what trips they took you on, what they chased. Like, it was just how they made you feel.
Right.
And those, you know, my grandparents made me feel amazing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, and you know, getting back to the whole, you know, part of depression and why I'm at where I'm at, I think a lot of it is just, you know, being able to get off antidepressants and being able to get off, you know, microdosing mushrooms, which by the way is amazing.
Yeah, if you do the right ones.
Yeah, for sure.
But talk about getting off of them, right? So you saw Mary.
Right. So I saw Mary, and that's, you know, one of the biggest things I got out of that was kind of that, you know, awe moment, you know, epiphany, where it was like, you know, a big part of it was learning, you know, relearning again and again and again every day, trying, you know, forgiving people, right? Forgiving people, not forgetting,
Yeah.
but forgiving, and forgiving people is an everyday thing.
Yeah.
You know, and there are some people I can forgive today and I won't have to forgive them for a month or a year, 2 years, whatever it is. And then I'm like, dang, man, I remember that. Okay, moving on. Forgive me again. You know, and which that emptied me of depression and anxiety. There was like little moments where it was like, okay, there's less of that. Then there's less of that. then there's less of that. And I walked out on Good Friday like, wow, this is, I didn't touch, mushrooms or my, Prozac or Xanax since. And I think
Right.
it's, it's been, I don't know,
You're-
3 or 5, week 4 or
Yeah.
almost a month now. And I don't miss it one bit, and I have my ups and downs, but
Right.
we're humans. We're supposed to have ups and downs. If we just block everything out and all we do is feel great all the time, then we are just a drone of madness.
Yeah.
It's, we're not living life. And I don't think I was living life. I think I was feeling better, but I don't think I
Right.
was living life. Since I've been off, I've been wanting to, I made soap tonight and I've been wanting to
I
paint
know.
more, and I've been, I've just been more active in
Yeah.
general where I wouldn't have been active in general like that in a long time. And it's just, yeah, it just made me, she opened me up to just make me realize that I wasn't broken, that there are broken things around me.
Yeah.
There are things that are broken that make me feel that way.
Right.
And when you can identify what's broken, then you can start to fix how you look at it and how you approach it. And
Perspective.
that's all she's really taught me is just, these are the things around you that might be broken that are making you feel that way because you're not broken.
Right.
And again, I can't stress it enough, giving it to God,
Yeah.
and that's, my life, ironically enough, which is really cool, changed on Good Friday.
I know. And it's kind of fun.
it's-
It's kind of funny.
For a person like me to say that, I would have never thought that would ever be, something that I had the opportunity to do,
Yeah.
but it's amazing. I'm extremely thankful for it.
I think I don't ever want to say that medicine is a crutch because it definitely got me through some of the toughest times, after having
Right.
Olive. And I, did a much different but still kind of similar approach to you where after Olive was born, I just had all of these like anxious thoughts and I was just
Yeah.
like, I'm not taking her to a playground. Somebody's going to take her.
Right.
And I just didn't. And you were
Right.
like, we got to take her to a playground. She's a child. And I'm
Right.
like, you can take her to a playground. I'm not doing that. But it would be things like that would just like cripple me. And I would just stay in the house because I'm like, oh my God, someone's going to steal her. And I didn't go on medication for a really long time. I did still talk to a therapist for a while. And then we moved to Tennessee and I found myself at a job that I could not stand.
Yeah.
And I literally sat in at my desk one day because it was like open, floor plan. And I was just like, I hate it here.
Yeah.
But I'm like so anxious about what's going to happen if I leave here and do anything else with my life. And I found a psychiatrist right across the street from our office.
Yeah.
And ironically enough, her name was Mary.
That's funny.
And she was amazing. And I told her, like, I don't want to be on medication. And she was like, that's fair.
Is that who I saw before we left too?
No, you saw somebody in her office, though.
Okay.
But I told her, like, I don't want to be on medication. And she was like, okay, what if we just try, like, the very lowest dose we can try to just get you out of this angst?
Right.
And I was like, okay, I'll believe you. And I did. I got on 25 milligrams of Zoloft and never went above 50.
Right.
And so it was very easy for me to taper off of it a few months ago when I stopped taking it. But I was very much that person, so I can understand the statistic of 49% of people being untreated.
I still don't believe it.
I know.
I feel like it's 50% of the country is depressed.
We would think that too.
I'm telling you, that's not right.
Maybe there's a correlation between the people on social media
There are
with depression.
There's probably 100 million closet depressos.
I really hope that nobody starts referring to themselves as that. 'Cause, God, that's terrible.
Don't be a closet depresso.
Oh, man. No, I mean, you're probably right. It's the shame behind like admitting that you're sad or anxious or whatever it may be.
You just don't want to believe it.
Yeah, it could never happen to me.
My dad was like that growing up.
Right.
And I didn't mean to cut you off, but what I realize now is that my dad's able to deal with it.
Sorry, Dennis.
He's able to deal with it though. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like over the years, over the last couple decades,
Yeah.
over the last 20 years, he's learned to eat better. He's learned to be more healthy. He's learned to, he has, you know.
Just going back to speaking of things that happened this week is where I made a comment about buying bread and you were like, I never thought I married my dad.
I know, right? But it's true though. You know, when you start to
But I
learn,
had said, I
right?
think that he's been onto something your entire life with you guys
I'm telling
eating
you, right?
cleaner and
But what the
better.
thing is that we didn't eat clean when I was growing up.
Of course.
This was like when I was out of high school. You know, he started eating cleaner, and I
Yeah.
hated it because I was a kid in high school. Out of high school, I didn't want to work. I wanted to drink. I wanted to
Yeah.
eat like garbage. I smoked weed. I smoked cigarettes.
Yeah.
I was a total recluse.
Yeah.
And you know, now as a mature adult, mature adult,
For sure.
um, I've realized that he was able to curb it. You know,
Yeah.
because he's always told me growing up, you know, oh, you'll be fine. You know, you're not depressed. You know, you don't
Yeah.
need to go to the doctors.
Right.
You know, you don't need medication. I don't need medication. You know, we don't, none of that's, nobody needs that.
Yeah.
And the reality is, I don't think everybody does.
Right.
You know, after being on it for 7 years, you know, thinking I needed it, you know, I turned a corner. And
Yeah.
you know, the only thing I can say other than I don't know how is, you know, building that relationship with God.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how my dad's done it because he's not, you know, a crazy religious nut like I'm becoming, but
Dennis,
he's
we have a
getting
spot
there.
for you if you ever want to come.
He's getting there.
Tell us your story.
He's getting there. But a lot of it, you know, there's a lot to do with your gut, you know, and the food you put in your gut. And I still don't eat that great, but
We know that to be true.
I started drinking tequila because that's the best alcohol for your gut.
Let's not. Oh my God. Here we go.
But no, but
You're the guy that's like, Velveeta is so much better than Kraft.
it's all garbage.
Mix me
There's
up a
not
box.
there's not, you know, well, I watch so many Instagram videos and there's nothing that's real anymore. Like I couldn't even tell you where to buy real cheese.
I've been telling you
I don't
this
even
for
know what
so
real
long,
cheese tastes like.
I know, but I've been telling you this for so long that
I
you
have to
watch.
learn how to make cheese.
Okay, well, put it next to the chickens and the sourdough, which is totally fine.
And the soap
And the soap and
and the painting.
and, and your moisturizers.
That's good moisturizer.
It is good. I will definitely give you credit for that.
Thank you.
But now you made me lose my train of thought. But yeah, I mean, I've said to you the other day, like I think your dad's always been onto something about like eating better things,
Yeah.
and yeah, you're just not going down that road.
No. I mean,
You're trying.
I'm getting
You
there.
are.
I'm
Yes,
getting there.
you are getting there. But but yeah, I mean, aside from obviously a relationship with God, like brain gut connection is such a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a very, very real thing. You know, and I was literally just telling a friend the other day, like, I am grateful that Olive's thing is just a stomach ache and it's not like diarrhea.
Right.
Like it doesn't lead her down that
Right.
path.
Doesn't stick her in the bathroom half the day.
Right.
Right.
Which would be a whole nother can of worms. But the way we believe things and think things and do things is a direct correlation to our gut.
For sure, and it goes right to our brain. Mm-hmm. And because I know, and you know, even on antidepressants, you know, one of the biggest battles I've had over the last few years is, you know, drinking on an antidepressant.
Oh, the worst.
And you know, and I've always been like, I'll be fine, I'll figure it out, I'll get through it because I know what to expect.
Right.
You know, and oddly enough, over the last year, it's gotten worse before I got off. Mm-hmm. And you know, if I had, you know, 6 beers on a Saturday in the pool, you know, Monday, Tuesday, and probably Wednesday, I was going to feel like garbage.
Yeah.
And it was almost like it was.
But not physically. Yours was definitely a mental, like,
No,
garbage.
I didn't physically feel like garbage, but yeah, my brain, the fog in my brain and the depression that set in for 3 days, nearly 3 days was insane. It was just like, and then by the time it was over, it was Friday and I was doing it again.
Yeah.
You know, so talk about an endless cycle and a trap you put yourself into.
Yeah.
You know, which is another reason, you know, no alcohol is good alcohol, but another reason why I started drinking tequila is because I don't get that.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't drink tequila every day. I'm not an
at all.
alcoholic. I drink maybe tequila once a week.
Yeah.
So, but I don't get that feeling.
Yeah.
You know, and yesterday we were at a friend's and I, you know, had 3 beers for the first time in months.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was waiting for today to feel like garbage and I haven't. You know,
Right.
I'm not sitting here with something counteracting it.
Yeah.
Other than my own wild thoughts. But
It's actually kind of funny too, because when I was on Zoloft, I always knew I had a rule for like the past 4 years. Like I had a 2 drink max. Doesn't matter what it was.
yeah,
Doesn't matter where we were. I knew that I could only have 2 drinks before my brain was going to become my worst enemy. And so for the past years being on it, I would only have 2 drinks. And by 2 drinks, I mean like 2 drinks once a month. Like I was
right,
not drinking because I knew the road it would take me down. And then I just went to go visit Kristen, and I was like, well, I'm going to drink this bottle of wine, and then we can go out, and we
right,
can hang out, and we can have fun, and I can drink when we go out too. And I woke up the next morning earlier than
right,
than my brother,
right.
and was like, all right, let's do it again. But
We're starting to sound like alcoholics.
I agree. But what I'm saying is, you don't really realize the damage that they do to your brain
For sure.
until you get off of them.
Yeah, because they're meant to shut sections of your brain off,
Yeah.
right? They are crutches.
Yeah.
If you have a broken leg, you're on a crutch because it gets you around.
Yeah.
When you're on an antidepressant, you're on a crutch because it gets you around.
Yeah.
That's all it does. The idea is to get on an antidepressant for less than a year,
Yeah.
figure out what's ruining you, and get off.
Yeah.
That's what they're for. They're not meant to be on for 7 years and be like, oh, that one wore off. I need to get to a new one. Well, that one wore off. I need to get to a new one.
I need the stronger.
I just, and then you got to wean yourself off. And that takes, 6 months.
Yeah.
And they're a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
They,
It can be gnarly.
they do shut you off. I don't know which one I was on before Prozac, but I didn't cry. I was
know.
so numb to like everything.
Which Nick is a crier, if you guys don't know this.
Cry
He
all
is
the time.
super emotional. That was an adjustment for me.
I'm such a sad, sappy Sally.
You really are.
Yeah, I cry about everything.
Like, I'll never forget when we first started dating. There was like a sad commercial, and I like look over, and you're like bawling your eyes out. And I'm like,
Everything makes me
wrong with
cry.
you?
Everything makes
yeah,
me
but
cry.
you're right. When you were on, I don't remember what medication it was before that, you didn't cry at all.
No.
And sometimes
I
I'd be
didn't
like,
get I didn't get
No.
like upset or sad
No,
about anything. I
not
just
at
didn't
all.
even care.
I was like, what's
Like,
wrong
I was
with
just like a
him?
numb fool. And
Yeah.
then I would drink and I'd be funny.
Yeah.
But off it, I was just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Like it just numbs you.
It does.
And then you get off, and it's like, I have not been off of a medication in 7 years. It's almost a decade.
It's wild.
It's crazy.
Yeah. What is your advice? I think maybe we'll kind of slowly start to taper off into this topic, but what is your advice for a partner? Like what would have your advice been for me back in the day in how to deal with you? Because
God.
when you were first going through it, I was not a gracious human being.
No.
And
No, and you were young.
but I was
right?
also in the trenches of being a mom,
Yeah, you were going through your own shit
and
too.
you were way more gracious with me than
For sure.
I was with
I
you.
don't know.
So what would your advice be?
It's patience is king
Yeah.
to that, right? It's hard because nobody wants to deal with anybody who's in a shit mood.
Yeah.
And I click the podcast, say no explicit.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to deal with anybody in that bad of a mood every day.
Right.
And it got to the point where I would come home and I would just sit on the couch and I didn't want to do anything.
Right.
I didn't want to be involved with Olive. I didn't want to be involved with, I didn't want to do anything. I was just in a bad mood all the time. And
So telling somebody while they're dealing with their bullshit, I'm doing everything else is not what you should say to somebody.
Yeah. I don't want to deal with your bullshit. Yeah. No. And I'll probably remember that until the day I die.
Was not my finest
The key
moment.
in life is to forgive people, but not forget.
Constantly.
But it's just patience and understanding that maybe the person that you're getting really pissed off at, aside from them going through things, they don't know how much they're going through.
Right.
You're seeing it, but they're not seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and until they have that epiphany or they have that moment, I had a moment driving home from work and it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And, and then I went and tried to find a therapist. I couldn't find a therapist. And I started to freak out on that. And it gave me anxiety. And And then I found a therapist and I had to wait like a whole week to see him. And I was losing
The worst.
my ever-loving mind.
Yeah.
Because I had got there.
Yeah.
I had got to the top of that mountain in all the wrong ways. And now I was falling off of the mountain because I didn't even want to be there. And I had what I needed. What I thought was what I needed was a therapist, psychiatrist. And I didn't have one. I couldn't find one that day to help me. And I just felt I was just falling for a week.
Right.
But trying to be patient with your significant other throughout that, and maybe asking questions about it. And I'm not like they're going to tell you,
Right.
I wasn't going to tell you everything that I was going through, because some of it, you feel like you're going to judge me for it,
Right.
or you're not going to agree with me on it. And I don't have a choice but to deal with what you're not agreeing with me on. And now I'm alone again.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to stay alone. Patience is huge, it's just, and then for the other person who's going through it, who doesn't think they're going through it, talking about it is your only way out of it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's the only way out of it.
For sure.
Sitting in your hole, just thinking this sucks and it's never going to get better. And I'm just going to deal with it forever. Screw it.
Yeah.
I don't care. Nothing's real. Blah, 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 blah,
Right.
blah. That is the worst thing to do. And I did that.
Yeah.
And now I talk about it. I don't care to not talk about it anymore. It's just something I didn't want. I tell a stranger, yeah, I'm on Prozac.
Right.
Like, you are? Like, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's just,
part
I'm
of
a
the
huge
journey.
proponent of, depression awareness,
Yeah.
and I could do a lot more research on it, but I lived it,
Yeah.
for almost a decade. I mean, I've lived it for,
Longer
more
than
than
that.
20 years,
Right.
but I identified it, maybe a decade ago, up until now, and just recently figured out what worked for me to get through it. And that was God.
Yeah.
And I'm not a person that's going to shove God down your throat, but
Right.
if you're halfway there,
Keep going. Keep going. I get it. I definitely get it. I think part of,
yeah, go all the way.
yeah, the part for me too, right, when I was going through it was like, I'll never forget it. You were like, there's a therapist in the shopping center right by our house. And I was like, oh, okay. And you're like, you should go see her. And I was like, okay. Like, I'm in these trenches too. And I was
Yeah.
like, I'm going to walk there. And I did. I started walk to therapy once a week.
Where
And
was that at?
when we lived in our Violet Lantern townhouse, and she was in the Hobie,
Oh, yeah. She was by the Hobie, yeah.
shopping plaza. And so I think the piece of advice that would stick with me or worked for me was when you were like, you started the path of doing the work, right? Like,
Yeah.
sometimes you got to do the work to help your partner be like, hey, you're not alone.
Right.
We're going to do this together.
Or be the first one
I'll start you off,
do it.
but
Right.
like, you got to finish it off. And so I just remember you being like, she's across the street. Like, you should make an appointment to go see her. And I was like, okay. And then I did. And I saw her up until we moved
Yeah.
out of California. And I think those two like are pretty big, having patience with your partner and then
Yeah.
starting, even if you have to start the process for them, like sometimes they're just not strong enough to get themselves there.
For sure. And patience is the big one, man, because patience is really hard to have.
Yeah.
I'm not a patient person. I'm a calm and collected person,
I'm so patient.
but I'm not patient.
Yeah.
I do want everything now. I want everything now all the time. We're human beings.
Yeah.
Patience is not in our blood.
Right.
We want results right now.
Right.
But I'm learning to be more patient. But that's the key. Patience and, love and kindness. I never thought I'd be the
Such a kumbaya man.
man sitting here saying that. 'Cause
Yeah.
if only you knew. But, that's just, especially if you care about that person.
Yeah.
If you don't, then go away. Don't be there.
Right.
That person doesn't need you. Maybe you're part of it.
That's true too.
So if you care, be patient, figure it out. If you don't, then just get out of the way.
Right.
Don't be mean. Just get out of the way.
That's true. Just let them figure it out.
you go away.
Don't make it worse
Honestly,
for them. Don't make it worse for them.
From
For
a
sure.
brutal perspective, just go away.
And maybe just like call up their parents and be like, hey, I'm out, but I'm tagging you in.
Yeah, or check on your kid,
Yeah.
whatever it is. But do not push it aside. Do not hide from it. Don't push it aside. Don't ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those are all the worst things you can do. And those are all reasons why I feel like stuff happens around the world all the time, you know, with shootings and angry kids acting out. And that's why I'm telling you, there's no way 8% of this country is depressed. It's BS.
I know. It's
50% of this country is under depression.
It's wild.
Some kind of it, whether it's anxiety.
The statistic out there.
Something. That's a bogus statistic.
Maybe it's the government.
Yeah.
Lying to us.
It's 100% the government.
Well.
Come and get me.
God.
You know?
Please don't. I don't want to do this life without him. Seems like it'd be really boring. Well, you got through it.
I got through it.
You got through your story.
I did a lot more than I thought I was going to be able to.
You were worried.
You know, I was worried.
I told you I would lead you there.
You did. I appreciate it.
Always will.
I had no idea what I was getting into today, to be honest.
I'll never leave you hanging.
I was not planned. I was nothing ready. I just sat down and...
Don't worry. I got your back.
Made sure I was louder this episode.
You did do that, which was great. That was everybody's feedback.
That was everyone's feedback. Yeah. But I was still trying to be calm while I did it.
Yeah.
And not, you know, like...
But everybody's like, you're such a good balance because Crystal is not quiet and soft. That's why we're here.
I know.
That's why we made it this far.
It's true.
High five. Well, it's your turn to pray.
Oh, man.
We didn't prepare a verse, so we will get better
we'll
about
have that next time for sure.
But it's your turn to pray.
Okay. Ready?
Are you ready? Take her away.
Dear Father, thank you for today. Everything you put in our path today was a wonderful gift and a blessing nonetheless. We continue to pray for the opportunities ahead of us. We pray for the work that you're doing within us that we don't even see or feel just yet. But we hope that you give us the power to be ready for it when it comes. I pray for our family, our friends, their families. I pray for all the people listening to this and their families. And I pray that we all have our opportunities in life to figure out our purpose and help people around us. And I put a blessing out there for everybody's small business, you know, whether it's something they own personally or something they're trying to do or build, or, you know, just anybody who has a job out there and who's working hard to figure something out. I pray for everybody out there who's listening to this, and I pray that everyone has a wonderful day tomorrow. And we're thankful for every day we get here on this earth. So it's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Nice work.
Thanks.
Did a great job.
I'm learning how to be a better prayer.
Praying,
man.
I'm learning how to be a better prayer.
I'm learning how to be a better prayer.
God, we moved to Florida and you
I
became
just feel like
Florida.
I just feel like I say the same prayers over and over and over, which isn't a bad thing, but it'll get old on this podcast for sure. So I'm learning to get deeper in my prayer.
Lucky for these people. Excuse me. Oh my God, I don't know what happened. Lucky for these people listening and watching, I will be taking over next week's prayer. So it'll be a change up.
That's true. It'll be a change up. But just learning to be more, think more deeply into prayer.
Intentional.
Where it's not just more intentional prayer. It's not just bless us. Thank you for today. Today was good, but.
You did a good job.
Thank you.
Nice work sharing your story. Do you feel lighter?
Yep.
Physically or emotionally?
Emotionally. Physically, no. Working on that, though.
You got this.
I'll stand on the scale in the morning and be really bummed out with myself again. But
You're doing great.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we're doing good.
All right.
See you next week.
See you next week.
I mean, I'll see you in a few minutes, but we'll see them.
Yeah, we're going to jump on.
See you guys next week.
Hit our sleep numbers. Pass out.
All right. Well, we love you guys. We can't wait to see you next week.
Adios. Bye.
Nice work. See? And you were worried.
I just ramble on. I don't even know what I said.
You definitely.
No idea what I said.
That's okay. Told you just got to tell your story.
Just rambling on.
Tell your story. Let it be you.